Hey there, friend. Welcome back to Marketing Without Socials. I'm Jan Touchberry, and in case you happen to be new around here, let me introduce myself for a second. I'm a web designer and brand strategist, and I am the person who genuinely believes that your website and your email list can do more for your business than any social platform ever could. So if you are a Christian woman entrepreneur who's tired of chasing the algorithm and you are ready to build something that actually belongs to you, friend, you are in the right place. And today, I want to start the podcast talking about something a little personal. This is going to be a little bit of a different episode because this episode came directly out of my own, I would say, recent and working through it experience. And I think some of you might recognize it in yourself. For years, and I mean years, the only thing playing in my car has been podcasts. Business podcasts, marketing podcasts, strategy podcasts, personal development podcasts. I am a lifelong learner. I always have been. I always will be. The idea of driving somewhere and not learning something in the process almost felt wasteful to me. So I consumed. I consumed constantly. And for a long time, that felt great. But the last few months, something has shifted. I started noticing that my podcast queue was getting shorter, not because I was caught up, which before I had to be caught up. But it's not because I was caught up. It was because I was deliberately not adding things and even skipping things, like going through the motion of marking them as having been played so it didn't keep showing up. The enthusiasm that used to pull me toward the next episode just was not there the same way. And I couldn't figure out what had changed. I wasn't burnt out. I wasn't trying to quit anything. I just noticed that I wasn't enjoying the constant influx of new information like I was before. And then one day I was listening to one of the shows that I still follow, one of the ones that made the cut, so to speak, and the host said something that grabbed my attention. She said that she had the realization that almost nothing she was doing on a regular basis was feeding her creativity, and she had noticed that it was taking a toll. And I remember sitting in my car after that episode and thinking about that and wondering if that was the problem. So I did what she suggested. I did a little bit of an inventory. I got honest about what I had been consuming and doing on a regular basis and asked myself how much of what I was doing was actually feeding my creative side. And I have to be honest when I say almost nothing hit the mark. It was a little bit eye-opening. Everything that I was consuming was designed to optimize me in some way, to make me more productive, to make me more strategic, more efficient. And those things are fine. Y'all, I love those things. They're great. But none of it was making me more inspired. None of it was feeding my imagination or giving my brain the kind of input that actually sparks new ideas. I had been treating my creativity like a well that I could draw from indefinitely without doing anything ever to refill it. So I have made some shifts. Business podcasts came out the car. They are no longer on my listen list in the car. I still listen to a select few, but never in the car. And I am much more selective about what I'm ingesting. I started taking more walks outside, morning and evening. And a lot of them are in silence. No earbuds, nothing inputting, but the sound of nature. I picked up some fiction books, like the kind that let your mind wander and wonder a little bit. I found a couple of authors that I'm really loving, and I'm going through their series. And friend, the ideas are coming back. The words are flowing again, and I feel more like myself creatively than I have in a really long time. And so I want to give you a little bit of that today, I hope. So before we get into the practical stuff, the thing that I want you to understand or remember is that creativity is not a personality trait. It's not something that you either have or you don't have, okay? You hear that all the time. Oh, well, she's a creative. Yeah, we're all creatives because we were all made in the image of a creative God. The Bible says that. Now, it may look different from person to person, but we are all creative in our own way. But we also have to remember that creativity is a resource. And like any resource, it has got to be replenished. So if you've been constantly creating content and copy and episodes and email and whatever your output looks like, and you've hit a wall, the problem almost certainly is not your ability. It's probably your input. There is a reason that Psalm 23 resonates with so many of us. It says, He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. We don't get restored by filling every quiet moment with more input. We get restored by being made to lie down, by being led somewhere still. And most of us, if we're honest, keep putting the earbuds back in. Is any of this ringing true for you? All right. So before we try to fix anything, we have to see it clearly, right? And that starts with an honest inventory. This is pretty much the same inventory that I did. All right, I want you to grab a piece of paper, not your phone, like actual pen and paper. Something really good happens to us psychologically and neurologically when we put pen to paper. So grab your pen and paper and answer these questions, all right? You can do this after you finish listening or pause right now if you want to. If you're driving, come back to it, all right? Okay, question 1. What do I consume on a regular basis that has zero to do with business, marketing, or productivity? Okay? Not what you used to do, not what you wish you could do, but what you're actually regularly consuming right now. Question number 2. When did I last experience something like a piece of music or a walk or a story or a piece of art that made me feel something unexpected, something that you didn't see coming? Question number 3. In the last month, how many hours have I spent learning at my business versus simply living life? And finally, question 4. What did I love to do creatively before I started this business? That last one kind of gets me because most of us at some point had something, a thing that we did just because we loved it, but somewhere along the way, building a business quietly has crowded it out. So take stock, friend. Really look at what you see when you've answered these questions because that inventory is telling you something. Okay. So let's talk about some things that you can actually do. These are not big life overhauls. They're small, repeatable shifts, and they can compound if you'll let them. Shift number 1, protect your white space. Silence is not wasted time. It is where ideas come from. The drive to the grocery store, the wait at the school pickup line, the first 10 minutes of your walk. These are prime creative incubation times. And we have filled every single one of them. So here's a small challenge. Try one drive this week with nothing playing. No podcast, no music, no audiobook. Just you and your thoughts and the road. I know that sounds uncomfortable. My husband can't stand it. That's kind of the point, right? Sit down with the discomfort for a few minutes and see what shows up. I find now that I actually crave it. Shift number 2. Consume differently. If everything you're consuming is designed to optimize you, you're not feeding your imagination, you're feeding your freaking to-do list. Try swapping one business podcast for a novel or a documentary about something that you know absolutely nothing about. Be as random as you want. Or how about a biography or documentary of someone or something interesting who has zero to do with entrepreneurship or business? Read something that has nothing to teach you about your business. Watch how it sneaks in anyway. That's how creativity actually works. It makes connections across things that seem unrelated. But it can only do that if you're giving it different things to connect. Like I said before, my shift was fiction books, and it has been so good. I forgot how much I love a good book. All right, shift number 3. Make something with your hands. There's something that happens in the brain when your hands are busy and your mind is free. Get a coloring book. Build a Lego set. Knit something. Paint something terrible on purpose. I have recently started milling my own flour and baking homemade bread. Kneading is oddly satisfying. But look, it doesn't have to be good. My bread loaves look horrible right now. They don't really even look much like a loaf. Nobody else ever needs to see it. Just find something and make it your own. These things are not guilty pleasures. They're not waste of time. They are creative maintenance. Think about the women who used to build things with their hands for centuries. They weren't wasting time. They were thinking, praying, processing. The work of their hands gave their minds room to move. So friend, give your mind room to move. All right, shift number 4. This is a fun one. I'm going to suggest that you expand your music diet. Music is one of the fastest ways to shift your emotional register, and creativity often lives in a register that you have not visited in a while. If you're always listening to worship music, try some jazz. If you always listen to pop or country, try some classical. If you always have something familiar on, try something completely foreign to your ears. And if you don't know where to start, you could ask your trusty AI assistant to give you some suggestions. Don't overthink it. Just notice how your brain responds to the unfamiliar. That response, that is your creativity waking up a little. Shift number 5. I want you to give yourself permission to lower your output temporarily. This one is very important, so stay with me, okay? You cannot draw from an empty creative well indefinitely, and the pressure to produce on schedule every week, regardless of what's happening inside of you, is not sustainable. It's also not how we were made to operate. There's a rhythm built into the very fiber of creation itself. Work and rest, plant and harvest, seasons of abundance and seasons of fallow ground. If the well is dry, the most productive thing you can do is stop trying to draw from it and go fill it instead. That, my friend, is stewarding what God gave you. All right, as we wrap up today, I want you to think about something. A creativity dry spell is not a sign that you've run out of things to say. It's a sign that you've been outputting more than you've been inputting. That's it. That's the whole diagnosis most of the time, okay? It's a data point, and it's a useful one if you listen to it. The consistent creator doesn't avoid dry spells. She learns to read them, and she responds before they become a crisis. Think about your creativity like a garden. You can harvest from it. You can produce beautiful, useful things. But if you never water it, you never let it rest, you never tend it with anything other than needing something else from it, eventually it's going to stop producing. Green pastures, still waters, restored soul. The invitation in that psalm is not passive. It is very intentional. He leads you there, and he makes you lie down. You don't stumble into rest accidentally, friend. You choose it. You protect it. You have to follow. The question is whether you're going to follow. So 2 action steps this week. Number 1, do your creativity audit. You're going to grab that piece of paper and a pen, and you're going to answer the 4 questions. What am I consuming regularly that feeds my creativity, not just my productivity? When did I last make something or experience something just for the joy of it? What's one quiet space in my week that I could protect? And what did I love to creatively do before I started this business? All right. And then second thing, sometime this month, make one swap. Just one swap. One podcast slot becomes a walk in silence. One scroll session becomes a coloring book or a puzzle. One background noise playlist becomes something that you've never listened to before. Just pick one thing, do it for a month, and notice what shifts. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If this episode resonated with you, I would love for you to share it with a fellow creative entrepreneur who might need to hear this message. Word of mouth is genuinely how this show grows, and I do not take it for granted when you pass it along. So until next time, protect the well, friend. Build up and then go do your best work. See you next week.